The 3 stars of Sunday.
Number 3.
They're going to give it to McCaffrey coming left. McCaffrey, touchdown! San Francisco! He has thrown one, he has caught one, he has run one. He can do it all.
Number 2.
Hurts looks, still looking. He is going deep down the far side, and it is A.J. Brown again! Another touchdown! 29 yards!
Number 1.
Dalton to throw, looking, dumps it across the middle. Kamara's got it. 25, 20, 15, 10, near side, and he will scoot into the end zone. Alvin Kamara, 3 for 3 TDs for AK.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Live here on the Bettor Sports Network. Happy Halloween, everybody. My name is Justin Fensterman. His name is Adam Ronis. And before you all get on your sugar highs with all that candy, whether you have kids you're going to steal from them because of dad or parent tax, whatever, or maybe you want to go trick-or-treating yourself, try to score some free candy. We like free, and I hope you have a great week. I hope everybody's safe on this Halloween Eve. What's going on, Roman? How you doing?
Doing well. It was a fun weekend in the NFL. Very good fantasy weekend. A lot of players with multiple touchdowns, which we don't see much anymore. So it was a good weekend.
Absolutely.
And the Cowboys won.
Dude, no one cares about that. What candy are you going to eat tonight, man? You love sweets.
Yeah, definitely. Love candy. I'm not, but if I come across some peanut butter cups, I'll definitely eat them.
Is that so? That's your one seed. I feel like that's everybody's one seed. Yeah,
no,
that's my one.
I'm a huge peanut butter fan.
Are you a Butterfinger guy, though?
I like them, but man, it just gets stuck all over your damn mouth, man.
I wish you didn't say it. I think people overrate that. I don't think
it's not overrated. It's a problem. It's a major problem.
No, now and laters are a major problem.
No, now and laters are that's all sugar. Problem. You might as well just take a box of sugar and shove it down your throat.
That's what you do when you're eating candy, man.
That specifically. Yes, every candy has a lot of sugar, but chocolate is different. I mean, now and later, come on.
Yeah, it's not that good, but that milk duds. They destroy your teeth. Those are the worst.
Butterfingers does too. Well, all that does. That's why I've had no cavities because I don't eat a lot of candy.
I've actually never had a cavity either. I say that now, and I probably have 3, and I just don't know. So Halloween, here's how we're doing this. Let us know you're dressed up today, whether for work, whether you were at an event. Send us your costume. Send us a picture at Bettor Network. Let us know what you're being. After that crappy second Space Jam movie came out, I had to represent the original Space Jam right here, Roan. I got my Space Jam outfit here, little Michael Jordan Toon Squad jersey, shorts as well, matching right there. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. You ever see the first Space Jam, Roan? I know that we have a little bit of an age gap between us.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think
I haven't seen either one.
Yeah, you know what? I think you would like it only because it's the first one. Don't see the second one. The first one, the NBA players are funny in it. And Charles Barkley's hilarious in it. You got Larry Johnson, Muggsy Bogues, Sean Bradley, Patrick Ewing. It's hilarious. The ref throws him the ball, gets hit right in the head. I think you would find that awesome. But you, did you dress up today, technically?
Yeah. Well, look, my hair's different than usual, right?
I could tell by that. Who are you trying to be? You look like one of the dudes from Metallica, the one with the curly long hair.
That's not what I was shooting for, but okay, whatever.
So what were you shooting for then?
The Undertaker. I just don't have the hat.
No, you don't have the hat. You don't have the makeup. Yes, thank you, A.B. Adam Bernard. Kirk Hammett. That's who you absolutely look like from Metallica. But you're the Undertaker right there, Mr. Former undefeated at WrestleMania, the legend here. You don't think we're ever going to see? I know he retired. You don't think we're ever going to?
I don't think we see him wrestle again. I think it's it.
I bet you we see Ric Flair, even though he had his last match.
I could see him. Again.
So Ronis is the Undertaker. I'm a member of the Toon Squad right there. For those who are wondering what jersey, it is Michael Jordan indeed, for those that were wondering. So with that, we're going to talk about candy. We're going to talk about how to make your day even more sweet, because we want to give plays for the NBA. We want to give plays for Monday Night Football. But before we go forward, we have to go backwards first, man. And let's talk about the day that was in the NFL on Sunday, man. Where should we start? Should we start with the Panthers with that heroic grab by DJ Moore in the end zone? Then he takes his helmet off and pushes back the extra point, and it ended up costing him. And I feel like he's going to get a lot of the heat, not saying the kicker couldn't have made the field goal or the extra point, but just very brutal, man, especially those that had Carolina on the cover right there. I thought that was going to be it. It instead goes to overtime there where Carolina still covered, but they lost the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a stupid penalty. I know it's a rule, but come on, man. He just celebrated. I mean, I went crazy because I have DJ Moore in my home league, and he was one of the props that I considered. I didn't use him, but I played it myself. I mean, he already cashed the prop before that. I got it over 58.5 receiving yards, but that was a big play, man. And Terry McLaurin did the same thing, and he didn't get flagged. So I don't get it. And that would have been more detrimental because his was down to the 1, right, and then Heineke scored on the quarterback sneak. So that would have pushed him back. And I don't remember, there wasn't a lot of time left. So they're very inconsistent with that. I understand why they do the flag, but again, I think it's stupid. Let these guys celebrate. But we'll get into that probably more at another time. But in the long run, I think Carolina was better off not winning that game. You don't want to be first place in Carolina's situation at 3-5. They need to get a quarterback of the future. They're better off getting a higher draft pick. And I was watching it with my friend who's a Panthers fan, and he was kind of torn. He's like, I kind of don't want them to win. So in the end, it worked out for him because you want them to get a better draft pick. I think the takeaway here is, though, that they are still playing hard, and this offense has been productive enough for DJ Moore that we can start him now. And, kind of felt that way going into the week. And Deontay Foreman is someone that I used in multiple leagues where I had him because we knew Chuba Hubbard was out, and I figured he would get a big workload, and he certainly did with the 3 touchdowns. I actually played him over Najee Harris. I had Najee Harris on the bench this week because I felt like I could not sit Foreman, and it certainly worked out.
No, it did. 3x it worked out when it comes to Deontay Foreman, and multiple running backs scored in the touchdowns here. We've been giving everybody a lot of crap with the scoring down, but this was one of those weeks, man, where even though you had some big teams on bye, only a couple. This week is brutal. 6 teams on bye, man. We got 2 4:00 games this week, and I was just checking that out. But
yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, nuts, dude. But if anything to take away, not too much after Thursday when it came to the injury front. Normally, I feel like we've had a devastating injury every single week. And I know that after Thursday, now we have Rashad Bateman looking like he's going to miss a few weeks. Mark Andrews apparently avoided a major shoulder injury. Gus Edwards, will have to see if he's able to go with a strained hamstring. So after that, there weren't too many injuries. I mean, even thinking of it off the top of my head, Mark Ingram, Devontae Parker, Cooper Kupp right at the end sprained his ankle. But according to reports here, only day-to-day, not bad. Irv Smith, another tight end, the high ankle sprain. Nothing too devastating, though.
Yeah, I mean, the Cooper Kupp one, we still don't know because remember, with ankles, they could swell up a day or two later. So I know McVay already said that he regrets leaving him in there and passing that late in the game when it was over. So hopefully it's not a major problem. I do have Cooper Kupp on one team that is starting to play better. So it would be really bad if he misses next week. They already had their bye, so I'm hoping it's not serious, but there's not a guarantee there. We do know Rashad Bateman is going to miss several weeks, which I think is not a surprise after he left Thursday's game. He probably came back too soon from that foot injury, so that's pretty bad. But yeah, I thought the same thing yesterday. I was like, oh, you know what? We didn't really get major injuries from this weekend so far. Mark Ingram, no one's really using him. Kind of a backup. Devontae Parker, no one's really using him. Again, not to say that it's irrelevant and dismissing. I'm saying from a fantasy perspective, we really didn't get hit with with significant players getting hit this weekend with injuries.
Yeah, reading your comments as well. Wookie saying, look, it's Michael Jordan and Albert Einstein.
Nah, come on, man.
Oh, man, we got our guys here. We got the resource, AB Adam Bernard, and the People's Board op Jared Moore hanging out with us too. Guys, you might have to just take a picture of the stream, tweet it out, and ask, who is Adam Ronis dressed as? I feel like we'll get 1,000 different answers.
Yeah, probably a lot.
We already gotten Kirk Hammett from Metallica, and we have Albert Einstein. I'm very interested to see what else that everybody can come up with. So maybe we take a picture, tweet that out at Bettor Network right there. At Adam Ronis for the Rowan Man, at Fensty Sports for yours truly. Other than that, dude, we just had a nice trade when it came to the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens dealing with some injuries now, but then trading for tackling leader Roquan Smith for a couple of picks. And according to Ian Rappaport, A.J. Klein will also be going back the other way besides the 2 draft picks for 2023, a 2nd and a 5th there. Pretty interesting, Baltimore trading for Smith.
Yeah, I mean, they could use a linebacker. We know Chicago already traded Robert Quinn a few days before, so they are not in a position of going for it right now. So not a surprise. We kind of heard that this was going to happen at some point.
Yes. And we don't know if this was going to happen at some point, Roan. I had another 4-1 day, my friend, and I overtake the lead in prop wars right there. But hey, I'm not celebrating, dude. I have a 1-point lead. This is my first lead. It's taken me all to come back all the way like I did. It's taken me this long just to do that. So I'm at least happy there. Everything ended up going with my props. It's just that Saquon Barkley prop definitely missed right there. And like I told you, man, now for that season-long betting contest where I took the Giants, of course they lose by double digits after that.
Yeah, I took Seattle. I figured at some point that it was going to come to an end for them. Seattle's a tough place to play, and they really didn't do much offensively. So kind of wasn't surprised by that. I got hurt by kind of game flow in a couple games. The Chris Olave one, I thought he would have hit it, but they got off to such a big lead, and the Raiders decided not to even make the trip to New Orleans. I mean, they put up a 0. Devontae Adams had 1 catch for 3 yards and a rush for -1. So they were pitiful, and that hurt Olave, who had 5 for 52, and then Raheem Mostert just short of his prop. What did I have it at? 67.5?
You had 67.5. You were right.
Yeah,
there.
And he finished with 64. So Miami just went Pats heavy. And I did hit the Waddle, and I should have went with Tyreek Hill. Like I said, I just got to keep playing that guy every week, whether it's the receptions or the yards. He had 188 yards, 12 receptions. And that's what you like about this offense for fantasy, man. They just go to those 2 guys. Pretty much that's it. I mean, 14 targets for Hill, 9 for Waddle. It was a great matchup. So I should have just went with the receivers. Again, it was a good matchup for Mostert. He should have come through, but they fell behind in this one, 14-0. And they went pass heavy. I mean, 36 pass attempts for Tua, and why not? 382 and 3 touchdowns. So, it was a good performance by them. So, kind of got hurt by those 2. And it's going to happen. I should have just went with Tyreek and Waddle and not even mess with Mostert. But again, the logic made sense. It was a good play. And, 4 more yards, he goes over it.
Right. And I was about to say, didn't he get vultured as well for a score? I believe he did. I mean, I'm seeing that Ingold ran one in, but I thought he got vultured at one point, Mostert. Maybe that was it there. But
yeah, that was it. He got the short touchdown.
Yes, but good call with you on the Waddle prop. And hey, these props aren't easy. These props, I was actually watching the games with my dad. I was telling him about some of the props, some of the bets, because I do that season-long betting contest with him and all betting against the spread. He just looks at me at one point, he goes, how does Vegas, how do they just know? We ask the same thing every single show. How it all of a sudden, how many props have we lost, essentially, especially in basketball, by a half? Or we needed one
basketball
more.
Happens way more. I lose on the hook not often, but it seems like quite a bit. Like it'll come down to the end, and it's one play, one rebound, one assist, 1 point here or there, and it's frustrating. But it means you're close, and it also means that the lines are pretty sharp.
Absolutely. For me, I hit the Jared Goff over 34.5 pass attempts. I hit that Derrick Henry over 99.5 rush yards. I guess no problem for Derrick Henry to get 200 plus on this.
Oh, when he had his first carry or early, I'm like, yeah, okay, this is going over.
Yeah.
I was just worried because so many people were on it, but it made sense. I mean, it's embarrassing for the Texans because you know what they are going to do, okay? Especially with Malik Willis at quarterback. You could tell they were never going to let him throw much at all. Derrick Henry has terrorized you. 3 straight games going into yesterday, over 200 yards. So you know they're going to run the football, and you still can't stop this guy. Even Dontrell Hilliard, 8 carries for 83 yards. Just an embarrassment for the Texans. Willis attempted 10 passes in this game. He was 6 of 10 for 55 yards. So just an embarrassing performance for the Texans. And, Henry catched that pretty easily. I know, and the books did get hammered this weekend. That was definitely a prop that everyone was on the over. And a lot of favorites covered too. So usually when that happens, the books get hammered. So This was one of those weekends where you had short lines, though. You had a lot of short lines. You had a lot of, anywhere from 1 to 4 points. There were very few high numbers. So, and a lot of favorites covered this weekend.
Oh, I had that Colts, man. I had the Colts. And then
I was on the Commanders.
Yeah.
Because they were getting 3.5. They were getting 3.5. Ellinger's first start. So I just didn't trust them to cover. And yeah, they blew it though. They had a couple of fourth downs that they didn't go for, and they could have put it away going for a fourth down. Taylor had a fumble that he lost. Ellinger had a fumble he lost, and then McLaurin making that ridiculous play to put them at the 1. So, I mean, Washington somehow is 4-4 as everybody in the NFC East is 500 or above.
Yes. Remember when we were talking about the NFC being a joke? Well, this division, they're no joke. Both East divisions are no joke, although you just saw it and like I was saying to you guys last week, and all you Jets fans out there that were exciting, it's very good to be excited, but let's just temper our expectations here because Zach Wilson has some work to do. And I was talking with AB before about this, that this is what everyone does. Like, New York fans are the worst. They just are. They're very impatient. When it comes to the Jets at this point, some people take time to develop. You can't just give up and just say, bring back Joe Flacco just like that. You got to let him work through this. That's the thing with Wilson. Wilson doesn't have a lot of experience there, but I wasn't surprised that the Jets lost to Bill Belichick and the Patriots. It's going to be even worse when they're in Foxborough next time around in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think the problem is, though, Zach Wilson is terrible right now. And I know Saleh came out today, said he's going to be our quarterback the rest of the year, but man, he is not good. And you could see why they have not been letting him throw. I know he had 355, but 3 bad interceptions. So that's the problem right now. You're not really seeing progressing. And it's going to be difficult for this team to do good going forward, especially with the upcoming schedule. They're hosting, the Bills this week. So that's not going to be fun. No, that's in 2 weeks. So they're at the Vikings this week.
I thought it was Buffalo. I could be wrong about that. I'm looking.
Oh, no, okay. My bad. I knew it was Buffalo. It is. I was looking further down. So, yeah, it's the Bills this week at home. Then they have a bye. Then they're at New England. So those are 2 games that are going to be tough to win. Then they're home versus the Bears, which, the Bears have gotten better. Justin Fields, and now I'm I was getting some heat. Oh, you have Justin Fields too high. And I did lower him a little bit, but I thought he was a good play. I mean, I know it's Dallas's defense, but he did a good job. He had 151 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, rushed for 60 and a touchdown. So if you did stream Fields this week, and I know I gave him out to at least one person who asked me on Twitter, he had some quarterbacks. I'm like, Fields. And Fields, to me, is a borderline QB1 going forward. He's starting to put things together. He's playing, more controlled. Darnell Mooney, 5 for 70. So you'll take that. So this is 2 straight games. And like I said, if he's going to run 50, 60 yards, find the end zone, all he needs to do passing-wise, 150, 175, and 1 passing touchdown. He did better with 2. So I think Fields is a guy that if you did pick up or have as a backup quarterback, I think he's going to help you going forward. I think he's a guy that you can potentially use. And I did have him in one league. I dropped him, though, because I had him and Dak. Dak got hurt. I'm like, this was like week 2. I'm like, all right, I can't play Fields anymore. That was when they weren't even letting him throw 10 passes. Right. So I had to look elsewhere. And now I do have Geno Smith with Dak. Fortunately, I started Dak this week because I was kind of debating it. I'm like, I got to go with Dak. And then Dak came out and balled out. But I think Fields is in a good spot going forward.
I think we can also trust because ever since week 3, he's thrown 20 passes at least every single week. I almost feel like that gives us a little bit more trust. But next to opponents' room, Miami and Detroit, very favorable. Atlanta right after, that's a very good schedule for this guy, man. And for someone
you'd be happy if you have Fields going forward, I think.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God. The Jets, the Packers, and then after their bye, they have the Eagles and then the Bills. So that'll be fine. But his next 5 matchups, all beatable. If they could do what they did, I'm not saying the Patriots are a good team, but they handled them pretty nicely. If they play that kind of football, they can go up 3-2 in this schedule, can't they? Miami, Detroit, Atlanta.
I mean, don't care about the wins. I just want the fantasy.
Well, I know
I don't think they. Well, you're asking, can they go 3-2? So you're asking about the wins,
right? I just I find it very interesting still, and they're beatable for fantasy, and it's a bunch of beatable matchups. That's what it is, really. So, yeah, I mean, look, Chicago, like we've said, trading all their pieces, or not everyone, but trading a few of them, and for picks. And now look at them. I mean, they're playing a little bit better. And Fields just has to keep running, man. I know you brought it up before, and what we've seen now, 60 on the ground in 3 of the last 4. We need that from this guy. And hopefully, threw 2 touchdowns against Dallas. He could definitely throw 1 to 2 and 200 versus Miami and Detroit. So I think this guy is just more, you're right. I think it's more than a Band-Aid. And I found it very interesting that you had him as high as you did. And maybe you do know what you're talking about, Rome.
Yeah. But yeah, I did like him. And again, I'm a Cowboys fan, but I'm like, again, he doesn't, that's what people don't understand. When you have that rushing quarterback, and I think they're more valuable this year because of such the dearth of these veterans coming through, the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady, the Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, Matthew Stafford, all those guys like suck, and you don't feel good about starting them. So that's why Fields is in a better spot right now. Even Trevor Lawrence, people were hoping for him to be productive. He threw another terrible interception in the red zone. So with all of those guys underachieving, it makes Fields a little bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel now that we've seen him? How do you feel about Daniel Jones? Maybe we were talking about him a lot in the last few days prior to this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was playing well because he was running, but you know that there's limitations in this offense. Again, this was a tough matchup, even though I know overall Seattle's defense has not ranked well, but over the last 3 weeks, they played a lot better. He's appealing because of his ability to run too, because he's not going to really get you much passing yards and passing touchdowns. It's really the rushing yards, and he was coming off for a game where he had 107 and a touchdown. So it's going to be matchup based. This was a tough place to play on the road. And as you mentioned, the Giants were kind of due to have one of those games where they struggled. They just, so many things were breaking right and going in their favor. And it didn't happen. They had a couple of muff punts, turnovers, and, they weren't making those mistakes, which is why they were winning. They made them here, and that's why you had a problem.
Yeah, we also are 24 hours away from the trade deadline too. And could the Giants potentially make a move to add to their receiving core? I mean, the one name you're really seeing potentially linked? Jerry Jeudy. And Denver looks like they could be dangling a few pieces to different teams. But what do you think, man? Do you think the Giants try to strike and make a move here? I mean, this division is just so tough. I'm sure that they didn't expect to compete like this, but it's interesting because they need more than Wan'Dale Robinson.
Yeah, and even he had a down game. He's really just a guy that you can target in the middle of the field. So they do need someone. I don't know if it'll be Jeudy. The asking price is high, so I don't know if they're going to get it done. Sean McVay said there's just some tissue swelling with no structural damage for Cooper Kupp's ankle. So he better play this week. That's all I'm saying.
How about what Essen's asking us right there? What's up, Essen? Would a Jerry Jeudy trade to the Giants from a fantasy standpoint, does it really move the needle that much? To me, it kind of stays in a very similar type of role. Maybe a little bit less competition, but Wan'Dale Robinson's still there, most likely in this trade. He's not getting dealt. So I still think that the value's pretty similar if he's traded to the Giants.
I think it should probably go up because I would think he would be heavily targeted on the Giants. I think he would be the one. You don't trade for a guy like that, especially if to give up and not become a main target. I mean, who's the competition for targets? Darius Slayton? I mean, so I think it would go up, even though the Giants are mainly a run offense, but you should see a huge target share there. Whereas with Denver now, he's got to compete with Cortland Sutton, although Sutton has been really bad the last 3 games, and Greg Dulcich has emerged. And that's another guy, too. I had Dulcich ranked as a top 10 tight end this week.
Good for you. Nice. That's moving forward.
And down to the 1, man. Oh, man, he should have scored. He got tackled at the 1. So it could have been an even bigger day, but he's been someone that has become relevant in this offense.
You know who's kind of become relevant too? Evan Engram finally hit the end zone, this guy. I mean, this is someone that's, look, the target share. I mean, he's been getting targeted a decent amount, and we're looking for tight ends. We don't have much to really trust at this point, and I'm wondering if Engram's going to be someone that on a few of my teams, including the league that we're in together, the SiriusXM Host League, makes me wonder if I'm going to be rolling with this guy for just a little bit here and thinking that I know that Zay Jones, if you look at from the season-long standpoint, Zay Jones has a bigger target share. But as of late, though, Engram has been able to either match or out-target, at least in the last few matchups. It's been him. So except for, I think, one where Jones got targeted 10 times a couple of weeks ago to 7. But Engram's making himself relevant, and it's good to see him finally hitting the end zone.
Yeah, I have him in a few leagues, and I've kind of been rotating. I think one I played him, another one I didn't. I played Dulcich over him, so it's a lot's going to depend on the matchups. It's just he's okay for a tight end, and that's kind of what we want at this point. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns, but I think he can get you in that 6 to 12 point range in a PPR. And with the state of tight ends, I think you're fine with that right now. So I think he's like going to be ranked most weeks anywhere in the 10 to 15 range of tight ends.
Yes. By the way, I got to give you a little kudos here. Travis Etienne, man, you were on him. You were right. You were saying patience. You were preaching it. I was on James Robinson, and before you know it, they love him so much they shipped Robinson off to the Jets, and now you're just seeing what this guy can do, man. Your patience ended up paying off, at least for now. He just looks great, man. You took his rush plus receiving yards. You didn't even need the receptions for that prop.
Yeah, and he cashed it, I think, in the first half, too. And the other, I think, prop I got to start looking at for him is longest rush, because he's breaking one every single game. He had a 49-yard rush in this game. And then, last week, 49, the week before, 48, the week before, 30. So he's just breaking a long run every single game. Heavy volume this week. We're not used to seeing that. He looked really good. And, yeah, I drafted him in the third round of a lot of leagues. Some leagues where I started 2 wide receivers. I'm like, okay, I got to get a running back. And he was the guy, and it, didn't look good early on, didn't feel good. But I told people that were asking me, like, hey, what do I do? I'm like, just stay patient. He's the most explosive player on this offense. And at some point, they're going to realize, okay, we need to give him the ball more, especially when you look at the per play basis and how explosive he is. And even week 1, he dropped the touchdown and Lawrence missed him wide open in the end zone. So it could have been a bigger week. And it was just a matter of time before they realized, okay, we've got to get the ball in his hands more. And they did over the last couple of weeks. And then you knew now with Robinson traded this past week that this was going to be a game where he got a lot of value, and he had a great performance.
He looks like a bull when he gets that ball, man. Woo! Looks good. So good call by you on that. My other props that I hit, A.J. Brown over 69.5 receiving yards. He had a monster 3-touchdown game, which is great. We'll talk about that in the good. Christian McCaffrey over 35.5 receiving yards. That hit for me as well. So I end up going 4-1, Roan 2-3. I'm now up 23-22 as we head to week 9 of Prop Wars. Let's talk about the good from week 8. We'll talk about that here, and then we're going to talk a little bit later on about the NBA. We're going to preview Monday Night Football and talk about those players that absolutely sucked it up. What's up, Work and Grind? Happy Halloween to you as well. Angrim, he's saying should have had a second touchdown, but a pass interference took that away. This is the Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, powered by FantasyAlarm.com, sponsored by Jock Market on Halloween here on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis is sponsored by Jock Market. Call, chat, and enter contests in real time. It's Sports Talk 3.0 with Bettor Sports Network. Moose and Keith.
Because I never asked you this. When Noah was growing up, when did Noah first kind of, where you got a sense that this is what my son wanted to do?
I was really busy during his formative years. I didn't meet Noah until he was about 19.
Nice. So, your wife did a good job.
Yeah, you may want to talk to your wife. I would say about 13, he started showing a legitimate interest. He started getting curious about how I prepared, what it required, and then I saw a little bit of a shift, 14, 15, where he was concentrating on the on-cameras, the interaction between play-by-play and analyst, and started probably taking mental notes at that point of the performance aspect of, okay, you do all this prep, but you got to go out and deliver it. So, yeah, probably that 14, 15 range, I thought to myself, this could be something he really wants to do.
Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern on Bettor Sports Network.
You don't need to be like right 100% of the time.
No, there was a tweet about the refs that had me kind of cracking up the other day because somebody was like, we have the technology to track the ball down to a centimeter and figure out what speed these guys are running on the field. yet somehow we still mark the ball by
my favorite.
a 60-year-old dude eyeballing it, and then we run over with literal chains and measure it. It's like, you think we could probably get that figured out.
The least precise way to measure something, and then immediately following that up with a super precise way of measuring something.
Yeah, it's like we have satellite.
Like if you're a millimeter short of that chain that they bring out there, that they ran out it as best they could in a straight line. But if you first they just go here, and then they grab the chains and they run in the straightest line possible. But then if you are 1 millimeter short with that football, doesn't count. Sorry. Couldn't have been human error. You're just short.
That's exactly. And, they bring out the index card or whatever. Meanwhile, they have satellites in space tracking how fast Brandon Ayuk ran on an end around. But we can't,
and I can see that number live while he's doing it. Like I can see every player's speed on the screen live.
I love that. It's and not to mention that dude's trying to make the spot and the player always tosses the ball right into his face. Right? He's coming over to spot it, and it's every other time the player's just here you go. Here's another thing to juggle.
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
Is it me, Ray, or is the only publicity that Microsoft Surface has gotten out of their whole thing on the sideline is people throwing them to the ground in anger? Is that just a me thing? Or the only time I hear about this device, Ray, is when somebody is chucking it on the ground, just pissed off at it, which I get it. All of us are in that world. We love to do that. Only in the NFL, Ray, can they get away with it because these are free. There's no cost. It's part of the sponsorship. Here's 5,000 Microsoft tablets to get you through the NFL season, and these players just slamming them down. It's like they've become Gilbert on the sideline, and they're so frustrated. They're just the only publicity this company and this product has gotten is negative.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better.
Snap to Murray. Short set, throws left side of the end zone. One-handed catch for a touchdown by DeAndre Hopkins. Oh my goodness. He stabbed that out of the air with his left hand, pulled it in.
Walker the snap. Hands off Foreman, up the middle, breaks a tackle. 5-2, touchdown!
Classic.
Tumbling, spinning, pretzeling into the end zone. And that is 3 touchdowns now for Deontay Foreman.
Henry goes in standing up. Touchdown Titans! The franchise record for touchdowns. Number 75 for the King.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis is sponsored by Jock Market.
Cardinals, Panthers, Titans, radio networks on the call there. You just heard some of the good. And by the way, Ron, more credit to you. It's trick or treat for you today because I asked you about which of the receiving yard props you would have taken between McCaffrey and Hopkins. And both of us were right here. You were right because the Hopkins receiving yard one hit as well, dude. We should have I feel like we should have just bet all these props I did this. We may be a hell of a lot more richer at this point here. But welcome back to the Playbook here on Bettor Sports Network. Happy Halloween to everybody. Hope you're safe. Coming up next, 7 p.m. Eastern, will be Rick Kamla for Bettor Sports Live here. Talking about some of the good here. We'll get into some of the bad. Always taking your comments as well here. We will preview Monday Night Football, talk some props, talk some injuries too. Jalen Hurts, man, I'm so glad I have a share of this guy. He's been great. The Eagles have been excellent this year, man. And ultimately, just A.J. Brown, getting A.J. Brown just shows how much having someone like A.J. Brown can really help the development of a quarterback who otherwise doesn't have that kind of strong weapon in A.J. Brown. And he just had a great day, 3 touchdowns. Hurts had 4 touchdowns, man. What a game for this guy.
Yeah, and the only issue with the Eagles right now is they don't do anything in the second half because they're up so big. And they could put up even better fantasy numbers, but there just hasn't been a lot of competition for them. And they're really not doing much in the second half, specifically the fourth quarter. As you saw in this one, they took their starters out a little bit early because they do have a game on Thursday night. But from a fantasy perspective, they got it done. We knew Hurts was going to have a great year because the ability to run, even though he barely ran in this game, just 2 carries for 10 yards. Adding A.J. Brown was huge. And look, from week to week, you're not going to get all these guys to produce. Miles Sanders He came through because he got the touchdown, but only 9 carries, 78 yards. And again, that's probably partly they were in control and they have this game Thursday. So that worked out well for him. And Dallas Goedert came through with 6 for 64. The only guy that really didn't have a big day was Devontae Smith, 5 for 23. Zach Pascal took away a touchdown that could have been his, but he still got targeted 8 times. So with these guys, I think you just got to play them every week. And you understand there's going to be a week where Brown, Goddard, Smith, Sanders, one of them's probably not going to come through on a given week. And there's really not much you can do with that. We've seen it, A.J. Brown against the Cardinals had 3 for 32. Now it's going to happen. Week 2, he had 5 for 69. So there are going to be games where he just doesn't have huge numbers. But and same thing with Smith. We've seen a couple of down games from Smith. But those guys, because of this offense and how good they are and how they could put up 30, you just got to keep them in your lineup every single week.
Yeah, I'm shocked. Another QB leader. And let's talk about this team that we've been crapping on so much, or at least I have. Marcus Mariota. Good game for him there. 20 of 28. 253, a few scores. I mean, he did throw a couple of picks along the way. But those that have Kyle Pitts right there, man, you got to be happy. You'll take what you can get from this guy at this point. And very encouraging seeing Mariota have the game that he had there. For those of us that are still riding players like Pitts and even someone like a Drake London, hopefully down the road gets a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know if it will, though. I think this was just a case of the game kind of being back and forth. I think a lot of people had Pitts on their bench, and I can't blame them for that. And their schedule upcoming is not that difficult. So I think they're going to run a lot. They have the Chargers at home this week. Maybe, again, a lot's going to depend on where the Chargers are. We know Mike Williams is out. Keenan Allen did not practice today already. But then they're at Carolina again, home to the Bears, at Washington, home to the Steelers. They might not have to pass much. So I would not look at this game and go, okay, this is what Atlanta is going forward. I don't think it is. And they should get Cordero Patterson and Damian Williams back. I still think they're going to run the ball a lot. And they did in this one, 37 running attempts to 28 pass attempts. Yes, it's more than what they've been, but I don't know if that's a recipe going forward. And they hit on a couple big plays too. Damiere Byrd with a 47-yard touchdown against his former team. But I don't think you can count much on this passing game going forward.
On the other side of that, down to Foreman, I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. When Chuba Hubbard is healthy, do you think that at this point from this performance here, are you thinking that it's still going to be a split, or do you think Foreman now, it's his backfield to lose until he's crappy?
Nah, I think they are going to use Hubbard because they did last week. I think Foreman is better, but I don't know if they're going to give him the full workload. It doesn't look like he'll be involved much in the passing game. He only had 1 target in this game anyway. And Hubbard said he should be good to go for this because he probably sees what happened and he doesn't want to lose the gig or fall way behind. So I'm hoping they go mostly with Foreman. I think going back to last year, he's been impressive, and it's taken him a few years. He's a running back that had an Achilles issue several years ago, and it's taken some time. He's 26 years old, but he's looked really good last year and this year. So I'm hoping they let him stick with the job. He had 7.9 yards per carry against Tampa, 4.5 this week, and really came through. So as someone that has him in multiple leagues, hopefully Carolina makes the wise decision, lets him get most of the touches.
Yeah, I mean, few of these running backs. McCaffrey had a big week. Foreman had a big week. Alvin Kamara had a big week, which is huge there. I mean, we could all use that 40-plus point week out of him. We mentioned Travis Etienne. Tony Pollard had a huge week. And I know that everybody then always goes and asks Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones just is a big Zeke guy. I feel like we'll never, ever find out any kind of real info when it comes to negativity about Zeke from Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones can say whatever he wants on whatever radio station he wants about how Zeke is still the lead back. But still, you can't ignore the fact that it's another good game that Tony Pollard is there. He is going to take some of those carries. He is going to get thrown to. They're not going to throw to Zeke. They haven't been throwing to Zeke. And he's just there, and that's going to ultimately cap Zeke every week.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, I did not want to draft Zeke this year. Just even in the 3rd, 4th round, I didn't think that was good enough. He's not being targeted in the passing game, and it hasn't affected them yet, but they're going to have to use Pollard more. You want to use Zeke, fine, but he's 19 straight games without a 100-yard game, and then Pollard gets 14 carries and goes over 100. He's just more explosive. He's quicker. So they really need to use him more. But Jerry Jones is stubborn because Zeke's been around and they paid him so much money, but it hasn't really cost them yet. But when you start to go up against tougher competition, it's going to be a problem. If Zeke's, not breaking these big plays and not picking up chunks of yards. So, hopefully at some point they switch and they realize, hey, we've got to get Pollard more touches. He's the more explosive player. He can give us a better opportunity for the big play. It's just Zeke can't do it anymore.
Yes, we're going to talk a little bit of basketball here. We're still talking some football, but Roan, you saw a little bit of a note that no Joel Embiid tonight for the Philadelphia 76ers. A little bit brutal right there for Philly.
Yeah, dealing with an illness. So, they started to win a couple games recently, but going up against Washington, they will not have Embiid tonight.
Yes, Work and Grind asking if Giannis is going to play the entire game. We'll have to see there. Detroit won't be able to stop Giannis. I mean, they're even missing Duran. They're missing some size. They're not going to stop Giannis tonight. I don't think that. I mean, unless you think differently, he's going to have a dominant game.
I mean, no one stopped Giannis.
No one stopped Giannis.
Oh, so the report on Ben Simmons, he's likely to sit today and play tomorrow because they have a back-to-back.
Oh, let him. Why? He sat for 2 years. Let him play both. Just let him play. What are they doing? Just annoying. It's even putting him in the fantasy basketball weekly rankings that I have on fantasyalarm.com. It's just so grimy. He produces boards, dimes. Will get you some steals, so it adds up a little bit from the.
Yeah, he's actually not bad for DFS purposes at his salary.
Right.
I mean, his last game against Indiana, 9 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists, a block, and a steal. I mean,
his point prop has been at 7.5 forever.
I know he finally went over for the first time against Indiana.
You're like, dude, he should do this, right? I'm like, this was a few nights ago, and I'm like, no, not at all. He should. I can't trust this guy to score. Airballing layups. This guy is so afraid of the basket. He's more afraid of the basket than Nick Anderson was to shoot free throws after he totally failed in game 1 of the 95 finals. You remember that? Missed 4 straight free throws. Never the same after that.
It's been pretty bad with him right now.
Never the same after that. And by the way, we love giving stuff away here on Bettor Sports Network, and we're giving away cool prizes with our social giveaway here and on Twitter all week long. You guys can hang with us at Bettor Network, because if you follow us on Bettor Network, retweet the official pin giveaway post that we have, one lucky Bettor fan will win today's prize, a Bryce Harper autographed baseball. Contest closes tonight at 9 Eastern on Bettor Sports Live, and Rick Campbell will announce the winner. You must follow Bettor Network on Twitter and retweet the pinned giveaway post to qualify. Brought to you by GetInTheGame.com and Bettor Sports Network. Ron, while we're on the topic here, anything regarding the World Series tonight as we have a 1-1 tie? Do you think this is Houston's series to lose? I know Philly had that amazing comeback in game 1, but do you see the Astros just steamrolling them moving forward?
No, definitely not steamroll. I said it before. The Phillies have this magic, man. You saw it in game 1, a 5-run lead, and they came back. So, no, this is not going to be easy. Now, still waiting to see if they play tonight. There's rain in the forecast. I saw that they are going to make a decision, I guess, soon. I think maybe by 6:30 or something. But there's a chance that they do not play tonight. And if that is the case, they would just move everything back. It would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They would have the travel day Friday, and then a potential game 6 and 7 would be Saturday, Sunday. So still waiting on that. So I am rooting for the Astros, no question about it. But, man, you've got to be really scared. This Phillies team does not go away. Their bats are potent. Schwarber just missed a home run in that game and then hits one right to the wall. So, no, the Phillies have, this magic, and it's going to be electric in that ballpark in Philly. So, no, I don't think Houston's going to steamroll. I think they're the better team, but that doesn't matter. We've seen it with Philadelphia. They just find a way to win these games, and somehow their bullpen is pitching the best it has been this year. But, they're throwing Noah Syndergaard tonight. I mean, he's not going to go deep into the game. So they are really going to have to rely on the bullpen.
It's weird to think when you have some of these players that we're mentioning, like Harper, and even before with Juan Soto. The Nationals had all these guys. Scherzer, Trey Turner. The Nationals had all these guys at one point, man. And I know that a few pieces left along the way, even before they won the World Series. But it's just so funny thinking how many of some of the great players that have now become, from the younger guys to now the experienced veterans, that we talk about or rely on. It's funny how many of them were on the Nationals just, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, Harper is unbelievable right now. Like, he's the scariest guy to face at the plate. I mean, he's just stinging the ball. But yeah, I mean, the Phillies are just playing very well. So I'm hoping they lose, but that was a must-win, obviously, for the Astros in Game 2. They had to win that game. I still think they're the better team, and they have the good pitching matchup. McCullers, Syndergaard is an advantage for them. But they're going to need Justin Verlander to pitch well in the World Series. I mean, that was terrible what he did. They left him in too long. He was almost out of that inning. It was an 0-2 count.
Hasn't he historically sucked in the World Series?
Yeah, his numbers have been terrible. But, 5-0 lead, and you give it back. And, again, he was one strike away from that inning being over and only giving up 2 runs. And I think they left him in a little bit too long. They should have pulled him.
Yeah, man, crazy. I think about Phillies, and I think about that video with the Philly Fanatic and Tommy Lasorda. You remember that one? Where they had the Tommy Lasorda doll, and the Philly Fanatic was making fun of him, and Lasorda comes out and starts beating him with the doll and everything. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Funny videos. I'm all about the funny videos, nerdy like that when it comes to, as you all know, broadcast stuff, little clips, funny video when it came to sports and everything. YouTube is a very wonderful place. Let's talk about the bad, something that's not so wonderful. Players that sucked it up for us. Let us know in the comments what's going on with Halloween. Let us know your favorite candy as well. I feel like I'm saying that I'm going to get a lot of Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, which is the ultimate 1 seed. What about those that have a different favorite candy? Because it's Halloween. We're talking about everything that's oh so sweet, plays, and candy. That's what it's all about here on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fenstein and Ronis is sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every hour, every minute, every second of every game.
Co-founder of Jock Market. Dave, what's up, man?
Hey, guys. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing? Thank you for sponsoring the show on the network and everything, man. We much appreciate it.
How would you recommend a novice make their introduction into Jock Market?
For most people, we recommend we have free beginner contests. So anyone, if you play fewer than 50 events, free to enter. And instead of trading with cash like you do in our cash markets, we give everyone chips, the same number of chips to trade. And, we rank people at the end based on how many chips you finish with. So totally free to enter, only against other novices. And you can sort of build a portfolio in a way that you would with real cash, just in a way that's a little more risk-free. For the people that are more, a little more adventurous and you want to deposit right away, I'd say pick, 1 or 2 players you think are going to be undervalued. And it's just that simple, right? They're undervalued today. I think they're going to outperform. Buy a couple shares and watch what happens to the price. Watch where people are offering to pay for them. And then as the game goes on, you say like, hey, Lamar Jackson's having a real bad first half, let's say. He's probably going to be the most expensive player. There might be opportunity to buy low on him or kind of watch as the game goes on and how the prices react. I'd say that's probably the best way to.
So it's like a second screen experience where you kind of have to have it up while you're watching the games on Sunday and stuff like that to really be able to truly take advantage, huh?
Actually, what's great is that we have a lot of people that do that, but a lot of people will buy before the games and just
come back and check.
Yeah, because we have the guaranteed payouts at the end. You don't have to trade. There might be an opportunity for you to, reallocate your funds or invest more, buy, sell, short sell, whatever you want to do. But we have plenty of people who just buy and hold, and that's their whole experience, and they do pretty well on that.
We're joining.
Snap spot. Try is away from Pinheiro. He missed it. Holy smokes. He missed a 33-yard field goal, and Atlanta gets the ball back.
Parsons coming. He flushes out left. He stops. He dumps it short to the 25. Still moving Montgomery. Fumble the ball. Recovered by Dallas. Micah Parsons is on the ball.
And he's still alive.
He's still running. He's still moving with the ball to the 10, to the 5, to the goal line. Parsons recovered a fumble and brought it all the way back.
Bettor Sports Network is sponsored by Jock Market.
Very scary when you have plays like that happening. You have some of these players, you think, even those in a close game, you think you're good. Players almost have, boom, fumble, just like that. Down a couple of points here as we welcome you back to the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network, a Halloween edition here of the Playbook. Yeah, I saw a few of the hosts dressing up before. Ron, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures on Twitter over the last few days. First of all, Keith Irizarry of Moose and Keith. Did you see him, or at least a picture of him dressed like Coach Saleh the other day?
Yeah, that was a good one.
He did a good job there. And then Ray Flowers, who don't be surprised if Ray on Lunch Money has about a whole pitching rotation of Halloween costumes, because there is no one that loves Halloween more as an adult than Ray Flowers. I see this guy, Roan, because I used to work with Ray a lot on other networks. He would go to Halloween parties multiple, and he'd have different costumes and everything like that. If you were going to 2 Halloween parties, let's say you had a Friday night party and a Saturday night party, are you wearing 2 different costumes, or are you just going to dress the same way both times?
No, I'd wear the same, although I probably wouldn't dress up. It's not my thing.
So you're invited to a costume party. Let's say that you and a girlfriend, you're in a relationship here, you're going to meet her friends, and it's a Halloween party. So you're going to be that guy that doesn't dress up?
I don't know. She'll have to go buy me something.
Just like that. Just like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
she wants me to go buy me a costume.
Yes, I hear you.
I could be
that.
like,
I'd
be like a.
No, I don't like that. The costumes, they're just so expensive these days, Rome. It's everything.
Yeah, to wear them once. I mean, come on.
Right. I'm with you, man. I've only worn this like once. Okay, maybe I wear this on off days when I'm not on the show to feel like a pro bat, but this is a bad example. Most costumes, though, I've worn one time, and that's it. And yeah, I've done that. Now, one of the scary highlights we heard, and this is for me, scary, spooky report that we actually were talking about a week ago here, and that's the carry distribution in Chicago. We talked about Justin Fields and how effective he's been running the ball, and I'm starting to think, Ron, based off what we've seen in the numbers, that Justin Fields should be taking about 8 to 12 carries by himself comfortably moving forward, since he's had so much success. But the big question is, what happens long-term with David Montgomery, who's not running the ball very well? I believe fewer than 4 yards per carry. Khalil Herbert has had some very nice games from it. He's had double-digit carries in both of the last 2 weeks here. What do you think, man? A little bit scary for the Montgomery investor at this point?
Yeah, I mean, should have known. I mean, they mentioned before the year that they might use Herbert more. Kind of didn't happen immediately. Montgomery missed the game. We saw Herbert play very well, and Montgomery played way more snaps, 56 to 22 for Herbert, but Herbert pretty much touched the football almost every time he was on the field. He had 16 carries in his 22 snaps, and Montgomery had 15 in his 56. Montgomery had a fumble in the game as well. So I did play Herbert in 2 leagues, and I have no problem playing him going forward, especially I know in week 9 we have 6 teams on bye, and I believe 6 also in week 10. So it's going to get really dicey. I already looked ahead a couple of my teams. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough week.
Did you have, I didn't check did you have a lot of buys or something or rather, did you have a few big players on buy going into your matchup against John and Pemba in the host league? Because at one point I was on the league tab and it was like, I thought I saw it was projected for you to get like 75 points. I assume that you didn't reset your lineups or anything like that. This was days ago. This wasn't yesterday. This was days ago.
Maybe. I mean, I had Bateman give me a 0, so that didn't help. And trying to remember what else in that league.
You're in a very close game right now.
I know.
John Pepper's done. You're down by 26, but I got to see who you have. But you have a couple.
T. Higgins, and Kareem Hunt. So
okay.
I don't know. I mean, Kareem Hunt hasn't been used a lot, and there's been rumors of him being traded too. So that's the concern. But yeah. I didn't get it. Yeah, Bateman gave me a 0 and Darrell Henderson at 5. I mean, I have Alvin Kamara and I could lose. I mean, it's crazy.
Wild, right? I have right now, I'm sitting there with about 139 points. So I'm sitting with a 21-point lead. And Jeff Erickson from RotoWire has McPherson, your boy for the props left. McPherson, that's all he has right there left to try. And hey, man, if I can hold on here, I move to 3-5. All of a sudden, here I go, Roan, winning a couple of games. This is why we talk about it. You never, ever give up on your teams, even when you're under 500. And look, my team has had a few blunders along the way, and that's bad drafting, poorly constructed team by me. And that's having underachiever like Najee Harris as my first-round pick. That's having guys that don't even want to play for their teams like Cam Akers and Elijah Moore. That's having Russell Wilson with who the hell knows what exactly he wants to ride. But at the end of the day, man, you don't give up. I plugged in Goff, for instance, in one area. I was able to get Engram as my fifth tight end. I was telling Howard Bender from Fantasy Alarm about this. I'm on my fifth tight end in this league, man. I'm not giving up. I'm the defending champion here, man. I know that I got to still win the game. I become 3-5, though. Maybe I'm just starting to get right back in that mix, man. But this is a tough league, and I'm not giving up, man. I'm not giving up that title easily.
It's going to be very difficult for you, though, because you have the fewest points in the league. So you have very little margin for error. You're going to have to win every game and hope things fall your way, and you're going to need like a 200-point week. So I get you not giving up, but you have very little margin for error.
You want to know what the worst part about this whole thing is? I play you the final week of the regular season, or at least
my
the final
team
regular season.
It was really good, but man, now I lost Bateman for several weeks. I lost Hollywood Brown, and it's a problem because when my team was full strength, I liked it, but it's just, and Kareem Hunt, I don't know what's going to happen with him. So I have some issues right now. I mean, it's solid, but it's not as strong as it could have been. When you lose Bateman and Hollywood Brown to team with Higgins and Diggs, I mean, that's a really good with Kamara and Lamar Jackson. That's a good combo. You take two of them away, and there's just not as much good quality players on the waiver wire. So kind of hurt right now.
I'm not happy that I have to play you in week 14. Imagine that narrative. Week 14.
Hopefully Hollywood Brown is back by then.
You have a chance. Like, that's the ultimate position for you. You would have the chance to eliminate me from if I can continue to win some games here. But again, we're going to talk about this game a little bit more at length, still talking about the bad here. Essen hanging out with us, work and grind. Let us know if you're hanging with us in the chat. Let us know if you're trick-or-treating as well. And if you want to send a costume, tweet us at Bettor Network there. Other receivers that actually didn't do too well. I mean, you had a few zeros there. George Pickens, Van Jefferson had a 0. You mentioned Devontae Adams before. Bro, what is up with this Raiders offense? What's up with Derek Carr, man? It's just, you haven't gotten any kind of ceiling game from him. You haven't had a game that he has exploded for 30 fantasy points. And I know, where did we draft him? The 9th, 10th round, something like that. He's got a good target in Devontae Adams. Okay. Darren Waller's been hurt. Still, I mean, Renfro's was missing a few weeks. Jacobs has had a very good season, much better than most of the industry thought when it came to Josh Jacobs. But ultimately, man, what is wrong with Derek Carr? Because he's not throwing touchdowns. This guy's not running. We talk about Fields being a runner. This guy's not running anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously the offense has shifted to heavy on Josh Jacobs, but they couldn't do it yesterday. I mean, I don't know if Devontae Adams was still bothered by that illness that kind of left him sidelined for practice this week. But, I mean, this was just an embarrassing performance. And, Josh McDaniels shouldn't be a coach. He's had multiple opportunities. I mean, a lot of people like this Raiders team. I didn't as much, but I did not think they'd be 2-5. And I thought this was a spot where they play better. I mean, the Saints have a lot of injuries. They're not bad, but they didn't even show up. I mean, you get shut out. It's just embarrassing. And Devontae Adams to have 1 catch for 3 yards and 5 targets.
And no Marshawn Lattimore.
Huge step back for the Raiders, who kind of needed this to kind of get back at things. If they are 3-4, okay, 2-5 now. And that performance, yeah, just pretty bad. So Derek Carr not getting it done, man. He's really hurting you if you have him at quarterback.
Yeah, no, absolutely there. Absolutely. Other players that didn't really come through for us include guys like Robert Woods, Wan'Dale Robinson, who you mentioned before, Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk, Drake London, shocker there. Devontae Smith didn't come through either. Deontay Johnson didn't give you as much as you want. And then from the tight end spot, it was really Hunter Henry, Tyler Higbee, Robert Tonyan there. And that is what we have for the bad. Rod, I want to get to one more player here before we talk about Monday Night Football. And that player is DJ Moore. Because here's the thing with DJ Moore. The target share has been very good. A lot more for him in the last few weeks. Now, he has Atlanta again, I believe, in 2 weeks from now. Do you take this matchup, though, with a little bit of a grain of salt because A.J. Terrell was out on the other side for Atlanta? Do you think that A.J. Terrell being back in the next couple of weeks would stop DJ Moore from continuing to get double-digit targets, if not close to double-digit targets?
No, I'm not worried about it. I don't know if he'll shadow him either, but DJ Moore is one of the top receivers, and that's why people were drafting him in the 3rd, 4th round. And he just needs a quarterback that can get him the football. And that's the one thing we're seeing right now with Walker. He's getting DJ Moore the football, 11 targets this week. He had a big game last week. So, no, I think you're in pretty good shape going forward with DJ Moore, with Walker getting him the football.
They're not going to pull any kind of garbage, right? And then all of a sudden, when Sam Darnold is 1,000% healthy, the second Walker has a bad game with a healthy Darnold, they wouldn't pull a fast one like that, you don't think, would you?
It's possible. It's possible. I mean, I don't know. I mean, for now, obviously, he's earned another start. They said he's starting this week. So as long as he's competent, I don't see why they would make a change.
Oh, if you have DJ Moore, you want this guy to remain under center at this point here, because you're getting a lot more than you were getting before from this guy. Let me tell you. He's Adam Ronis. I'm Justin Fensterman. Ronis today as The Undertaker, Kirk Hammond. You also have Albert Einstein. A lot of options we've been given for Ronis. Me, I'm a member of the Toon Squad. I have the Michael Jordan jersey, but really I'm more Elmer Fudd because of the bald head. So, and Elmer Fudd also had the blue headband as well. Space Jam 1. If you've seen Space Jam 2, you probably thought it was crappy. Even your kids, if you watched it with your kids, they probably thought it was a crap movie. But if you haven't seen the first Space Jam, I'm telling you, you would love the first Space Jam compared to the crap that was the second Space Jam. You got to check it out. I love it. More fits my age. I even think, even though Roan is a little bit older and Looney Tunes, Roan, when you were a kid, you weren't a Looney Tunes guy, right?
A little bit as a kid, yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to think of a way you can connect there, because obviously a lot of Looney Tune involvement. The players had much more of a role, and they were just, again, when it came to the comedic humor, it was just more there than it was in the second Space Jam. So much better. It's a fun movie. I almost said show. It's a fun movie. Watch it if you haven't, especially if you watch that garbage second Space Jam. This is The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, powered by FantasyAlarm.com, sponsored by Jock Market. Let's preview Monday Night Football, and then we'll preview the night in NBA here on Bettor Sports Network.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, sponsored by Jock Market. Stay in the game.
Bettor Sports Live with Lisa Ann and Rick Kamla. That's 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
We've talked about this. You're not into that, to the dynasty thing.
I don't, dynasty is like a long-term relationship, and that just is really tough for me, Rick,
I understand.
It is such, and then when you say, the two things that you say that probably scare me the most is a 14-team dynasty. Then I'm like, oh, this is a now complex relationship that requires a lot of my attention. Not
and
just
a dog that you don't like and all of that stuff, right?
Lunch Money with Kyle and Ray. Weekdays at noon Eastern, presented by FantasyGuru.com.
I wish they'd get rid of instant replay. I think it's damaging to the sport. I just don't like it.
They will never get rid of instant replay on the broadcast. We demand it, and that's why. Remember, replay kind of rose out of the fact that people would sit at home and say, "Why can't they look at this? Why can't they see? I get to see the replay, and I know it's wrong. Why don't they get it?" So that said, okay, we'll have replay. Ray, we're never going to get rid of replay. No. Like, you couldn't say, "Hey, the NFL will get rid of it, but we're not going to show it on broadcast." What if the NFL said, "We'll get rid of replay, but we will not show any instant replays at the stadium"? Would you be okay with, like, you'd still get them at home, and you could still yell at the TV, but the ref can't hear you there.
Right.
Like, I feel part of it is they have to have replay because the millions upon millions of people watching the game have replay. So, like, you can't not have replay when everybody else has it, but the guys making the decisions don't have it. Like, you gotta have replay. It's impossible.
It is impossible. It's just my dream. It doesn't help.
You get better dreams, Ray. That's not really like
it doesn't help. That's the thing. If we use replay and it creates as many questions as answers that it solves, what's the point of it?
Well, it's not going to change, Ray Flowers. You're going to be an old man still yelling at the replay cloud.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better.
Burrow on 3rd and 11 will look to pass.
He throws it deep down the sideline, and it is caught. T. Higgins breaks the tackle. He's at the 10, the 5, touchdown. Burrow wants to throw. His pass caught by Hurst. Touchdown. Bengals. Burrow throws a one-handed catch by Tyler Boyd. He spikes the ball after making the catch at the 44 of Atlanta.
Tyler Boyd, showtime.
The Playbook with Fenstein and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com, sponsored by Jock Market. Stay in the game.
You heard there a T. Higgins highlight there, the Bengals radio network, Bengals Browns tonight. But I got to ask you, Ronan, I've thought this for my entire career when listening to Bengals radio calls here. Ronan, did you notice that the color commentator was constantly stepping on the play-by-play broadcaster?
Yes.
What do you think about that? Do you think that it disrupts the broadcast? Because I've gotten different responses. Some things, well, it's a home call, passionate Bengals fans, gets the listener excited, but it's kind of a choppy broadcast. And this guy has been doing this for years, just stepping on the play-by-play guy. You can't even get a clean call on a touchdown with him going, yeah, come on, Joe. Come on, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather not. I mean, I get the passion, so I think it depends. Sometimes I think it's okay. Other times it is a problem, but I don't really listen to a lot of radio calls, so.
I do, though, and it bothers me. I love good radio, man. That's the thing. I love good radio, good media. I'm a nerd when it comes to that stuff, and I just want a clean broadcast every so often. It's different, Rome, when you and I have done in-game coverage right there, because I'm seeing you. I can tell when we're watching a game, especially if it's a game you're on from a betting standpoint. I can tell when you're about to say something, when you're about to jump in, and I know to get the hell out of the way immediately. But with this guy, this happens all the time, and it's annoying. And I wonder if you're a Bengals fan there. We were just talking about I'm facing Jeff Erickson from RotoWire. He's a huge Bengals fan. Maybe I'll DM him or something and ask him what he thinks of that. He'll probably say it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's stupid. But let's talk about the game itself here, because going into tonight, we know the deal. No Jamar Chase, no David Njoku on the other side here. So when it comes to the Bengals and the Browns in my season-long betting contests where you win the week there by getting the most right, you actually win a weekly payout, which is awesome. I'm in a three-way tie for first here. I'm still thinking, Roan, ultimately, based off what we've seen from Joe Burrow, how excellent he's been, the one thing by saying, lock in the Bengals -3, the one thing is the Bengals haven't done great in divisional games this year. However, I'm still thinking that the Bengals are going to win by more than 3 points tonight. How about you?
They should. They have not had an easy time with the Browns recently, and they've lost their last 12 primetime road games. So I do think it's a different team, though, here with Joe Burrow. I do think the absence of Jamar Chase is going to hurt because he just commands so much attention, and you have to worry about the big plays. So I do think it hurts. And, you would think, the numbers for Higgins and Boyd are actually better without Chase. They're actually not. They're actually worse. Higgins' numbers go down without Chase. And Boyd slightly as well. So Chase is a big loss for them, and I guess we'll see tonight. And the Bengals, are going to have to face that tough Browns rushing defense. I know the Browns defense hasn't been good, so maybe they could take advantage of that on the offensive side of the Bengals. They're 28th overall in defensive DVOA, 28th against the pass, 27th against the run. So I think, though, what you might see is they might go back to a little bit more Joe Mixon, which I didn't like them doing early in the year because they haven't been run blocking well. Mixon hasn't been efficient, but I could see them doing that a little bit more here due to the matchup and due to the absence of Jamar Chase, just where they were starting to open up the offensive pass quite a bit over the last couple of weeks.
You think maybe they throw to him a little bit more? Because, look, he's getting at least 3 targets per week. He's gotten more than that. Actually, he's got more than that the majority of the time. Recent games, though, 2 of the last 3 weeks, because we've talked about this before. Joe Mixon has had a lot of opportunities. I mentioned this stat, I believe, a week ago that I saw, I believe, via PFF, and that was that Joe Mixon going into last week had more carries inside the 5 than any other running back. But something that you've noted a few times this year, and I know that he was better with the carries that he was given recently, but still rushing for fewer than 3.5 yards per carry on the year.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him more involved in a pass game. I think he'll be heavily involved tonight. I think they're going to try and run with him a little bit more and not be as aggressive without Jamar Chase. So the good thing is, though, from a perspective, if you have Higgins and Boyd, is that, they don't really spread the ball around. So when they do pass, those two guys should be heavily targeted along with Hurst and Mixon.
I was going to ask you about what are your thoughts on Hurst today. I was looking at some props right there, a little juiced up, but I was seeing a 3.5 as a line for his receptions prop tonight. I put a few props, Ron, in our doc here that I thought were a little bit interesting. Nick Chubb is always going to be, when we're talking about a game like this, Nick Chubb's always going to be of interest. He's sitting at 83.5 rushing yards on DraftKings Sportsbook. Joe Mixon at 67.5 yards on the ground. And then from Hayden Hurst, like I just mentioned, not only the 3.5 is his line for receptions, but 38.5 receiving yards right there. It's funny that you mentioned Higgins' numbers generally go down, but do you think Hurst, being that Chase is not there, they could throw to him a bit more? Do you think Hurst has a decent shot at topping the receiving mark tonight, getting 40 yards in the air?
Possible. I mean, I'm not playing it. I really don't have interest in playing his props because I don't know if he automatically will get more targets. So really not interested in playing his props tonight.
Anything that you're liking? Or do we have a super boost or anything? A little Halloween sweet candy super boost or anything?
I haven't gotten any alerts on that. There's probably something.
It's my favorite part of our show now. The super boost of the night right there.
Yeah. I mean, I'll play Nick Chubb over 17.5 yards for the longest rush. Got to go back to that.
The Adam Ronis special right there, we call that.
Mm-hmm. Since it's only failed one time in like the last 11. I'm not seeing any boost for tonight. What the hell is this?
I got a prop for you. What about the Jacoby Brissett interception? Throws one at -115. He's thrown a pick in all. Yeah, he's thrown a pick in 5 of 8 games. So it's interesting there. The Bengals defense isn't bad when it comes to guarding those receivers. I mean, what do you think about that at -115? Do you think Brissett throws a pick tonight? You're the interception prop guy. You're undefeated this year when it comes to betting interception props.
Yeah, I don't do it a lot. I mean, I had Stafford a couple times, but I'm not feeling that.
So at this point, the Nick Chubb longest rush at this point, that is your thing. I'm hoping we see it. I'm just hoping for a good game at this point, Rome. And I'm really interested to see, like you said, how they utilize Kareem Hunt because, and I was, again, talking with Howard Bender about this, who you do the Cash It podcast with for fantasyalarm.com. I was talking to him about, well, in the NBA, when you normally see players that are being dangled in trade offers, they're normally studded a bit more, meaning that they get more playing time. Even if they're screwing up, they're essentially auditioning for other teams. So teams, they leave them out there for a little bit, leave them out there, give them a longer leash. But for football, because of injury issues and being that the trade deadline is tomorrow and the asking price has kind of gone down according to reports for the Browns here, do you think they'll be more careful with how they utilize Kareem Hunt, or do you think that they might stud him out there a little bit more to try to get buyers?
I don't think they'll put him out more because they don't want to risk injury. What if he goes out there and gets a concussion? Now you can't trade him with the deadline tomorrow. So I think we've kind of seen it a little bit the last couple weeks. We've seen his role diminish. He only had 4 carries against New England and no receptions. And last week, he only had 5 carries and 2 targets. So they've already kind of done it. So I don't know if that was an indication that they were kind of close and it didn't happen. So I'm just hoping that it either gets done now or they say, all right, you know what? We're close to the deadline. We've been having talks. Nothing is happening. So we'll just play you tonight and we're going to keep you going forward. I wish there was some clarity because as someone who has him in 2 lineups tonight, one I already won, but total points matter. And then obviously the other one, I really need him. And I didn't want to start him this week, but I just don't have great options there. So I'm hoping that he just gets a normal workload, and they know by tonight, I hope that, you know what, this is not going to happen.
Imagine if they trade him right before game time. All of a sudden, that could happen. It could happen, man. And then he's pulled from the game this time.
Or they could be close to talks, and they're like, you know what, we're making progress here on a trade. We're just going to sit you out tonight. Like, it wouldn't be surprising. I know the inactive should come out in about a half hour. So,
I'm trying to think where Kareem Hunt could realistically end up, because, for instance, Essen, a buddy, is saying that apparently he posted a picture with Tyreek Hill. And I think I just, speculate. You think about the Dolphins and everything. They're barely utilizing Chase Edmonds. We like Raheem Mostert, and they have, other minor guys too. But we all know the deal with Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert has proven that he gets hurt most years. And for now, he's been able to remain healthy. But I don't know, maybe a little insurance for Miami if they're thinking they're going to contend here.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot. And I think he would become the main pass catching back and cut into the workload of Mostert a little bit as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think where else he could end up just off the cuff here. I don't see. Yeah, he's not being traded to Carolina. That's not happening at this point. So
no, there's no point for Carolina to make a deal like that when they're trying to finish with a higher draft pick to get a quarterback.
Well, AB, the resource here, bringing up the Eagles. I don't
think the Eagles need to do that.
No, I don't think so either.
I think they're fine with Sanders.
Yeah, they
are going for it, but I don't think they need to do that.
Right. I mean, how much does getting him truly help you there? Oh, look at AB bringing up the teams now. Maybe the Rams? Although we're seeing
Here, look, I'm going to say this about the Rams, because the problem is not the running backs. It's the offensive line. It doesn't matter what running back they're using right now. They all suck. They tried to go with Rivers yesterday. He sucked, 8 for 21. Henderson, I guess, was coming off an illness, and they really don't like him. He didn't do anything. Malcolm Brown, 5 for 10. Akers did nothing. It's the offensive line. So the Rams can say, oh, we hope Kyron Williams comes back. And maybe they're going to give him every opportunity, and McVay spoke highly of him before the year. But no, I don't see that. And the Rams have nothing. They have no draft picks. They are in a bad spot. Like, they sacrificed everything for last year for the Super Bowl. So no, it's not going to happen with the Rams.
The Rams, actually, there was a report out that if Cam Akers isn't traded, he's apparently going to rejoin the team.
That'll sit well. I'm sure he'll be happy to be back with the team after what's happened.
So I can only imagine how the team thinks of Cam Akers. Wouldn't you think that would cause some drama, maybe a rift in the locker room, bringing back in a guy who doesn't want to play for the team? Crybaby?
Well, it depends what happens. We don't know the details of what went down.
That's true. Man, it's just you're right. That hits home, man, especially after what we saw with Josh Primo at the end of last week, too. Promising draft pick of the Spurs, all of a sudden released. We're like, why? We're sitting there, why? This guy getting meaningful minutes there at the start, and then what happened came out, and you're like, okay, that's why. So ultimately, like I said, I'm siding with the Bengals. That's who I'm picking, the Bengals -3 for my season-long betting contest there. Ronas gave his Ronas special over 17.5 yards for the Nick Chubb's longest rush. If anyone could do it, this guy here. And so that's what we're looking at when it comes to any kind of props. The final one that I was maybe looking at a little bit, what do you think of Joe Burrow over 265.5 passing yards? Well, you probably don't like that because you think that Mixon's going to.
Yeah, I don't love that, because I think they might rely more on the run. And again, without Jamar Chase, I want to see what the game plan is. They were opening up the offense, and I was loving it, but I think Jamar Chase is a huge loss for them.
Oh, definitely. We don't know when we're going to see him again. It's a hip injury, bro.
They didn't put him on IR, so that's a good sign. So maybe he could be back in 3-4 weeks, but they just did that to leave the door open. We've seen players not put on IR and still miss more than 4 weeks, like the Saints wide receivers, Jarvis Landry and Michael Thomas, even Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen missed more than 4 weeks and never went on IR.
Bro, I've got Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas on the same team in one league. How much?
Well, that's your fault. I mean, you're drafting 30-year-old receivers. Come on.
I got a great discount. Listen, well, I liked Keenan Allen. Yeah, you were more.
Keenan Allen, I've always been a huge Keenan Allen fan. This is the first year I've never drafted him. And Michael Thomas, I drafted in one league in June and then said, what am I doing? What a mistake.
Well, why were you off of Keenan Allen this year?
Because a lot of his underlying numbers went down last year, 30 years old. I just worry about these receivers as they get older, more so the big body guys. But and look, Keenan Allen probably might have been fine. You know, we saw in that first game against Vegas, 4 for 66 on 4 targets, and with Herbert, he probably would have been fine. But I was worried about some of the underlying numbers going down, the injury issues, and Mike Williams maybe surpassing him. So that was why. And you got to pay a 3rd round price for him. I just felt like there were other receivers there that I liked better. So
yeah,
I don't know if I'm right because, you know, it's a hamstring injury. It could happen to anyone, but I was a little worried about the age and some of the underlying numbers going down. And he's a guy that needed heavy volume, and he probably would have gotten it with Herbert, you know. But the problem with the Chargers too is they throw short way too much. A lot of short passes. They don't really have a guy to stretch the defense, and they don't take a lot of long shots to Mike Williams either. So if you look at Herbert, you know, you'll see a lot of short pass attempts, and they need to change that offense. They need to take some shots downfield.
Yeah, the thing is with Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas, you're right. And yeah, as they get older, Michael Thomas, again, I got him for very cheap in an auction. And this was someone I thought come back, have a good enough year, hit that value. Barely been able to have this guy play since week 3. And Keenan Allen, and now I kind of blame both the coaches for the Chargers and the Ravens, because I'm now in the belief that both of them brought their guys back a little bit too soon. Can you say that at least with the Ravens after what we just saw? I mean, maybe with Gus Edwards, they should have worked on his workload just a little bit. And again, injuries can happen to everyone, like you're saying.
I mean, they did work on Edwards' workload. He wasn't even like on the first drive, so they didn't give him a lot.
I thought he ended up with 11 carries last week. I was thinking that he should
a...
only get 7 to 10 when we were talking about this.
Oh, okay, 10. He had one more than 10.
Hey,
you're going to rip them?
You're Mr. Particular here when it comes to being exact.
No, but you're saying I thought they would cut back on his workload. How much did he have? 7 to 10. He had 11. I mean, come on.
Hey, look, man, I said what I said, okay? I thought that he should have had a 10-carry max. But it can happen to anyone, though. It's football. One bad step. We saw it with Saquon Barkley, and people were like, oh, he's injury-prone, and you were yelling at everyone last year because they're like, dude, he stepped on someone's foot. It's a freak accident. You ever step on anyone's foot before?
No, I don't think so.
I have, and you have no footing. It's like a decline at that point. So, yeah. You can't do anything about it. You can't recover. You try to recover. You not only probably injure your lower ankle, but you also probably twist yourself up and get a high ankle sprain too. That's the problem. And that's why sometimes it's good to just fall and not try to recover, because you twist stuff up even more. He's Adam Rodas. I'm Justin Fensterman. Let's talk a little NBA. We'll talk about some of the injuries, games on the docket. And Roan, you and I actually technically have a new feature. We're taking 2 of our features and are combining them, and we're going to be working on them, it seems like, all season long on fantasyalarm.com. We'll tell you what that is next on the Playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
Don't miss the Playbook, presented by fantasyalarm.com, weekdays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Sponsored by Jock Market. Stay in the game.
Market, Dave, what's up, man?
Hey guys, how are you doing? Thanks for having
me. How you doing?
Thank you for
coming on.
sponsoring the show on the network and everything, man. We much appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have one of your I don't know what you should call him, not a sycophant really, maybe a disciple, maybe I don't know, John Legueza on once in a while, and he is like,
he's on it,
like all in caps Jock Market, and like his enthusiasm for it. I mean, look. Like I remember we had Jock Market sponsor one of the athletic shows a while ago too, so I was familiar with the game. But he is like, man, the proselytizer big time of your game.
Yeah, right from the jump. The second we first started talking to him, it was very clear it was a match. He got the game. It was like he's a big stock guy too, so the crossover between that and him making picks every day, it's really like a match, perfect match for us.
That's cool. That's what's up. You know, me and Nando, we've talked to. I mean, we've been doing shows for a long time. And I remember back in the day, interviewing Nigel and Jason Robbins and all of that stuff. And one of the interesting things when we talked to Nigel was hearing about the story of FanDuel and how it kind of came about at South by Southwest. How did Jock Market come about? Where did the thought process come from? Like, what were you into at the time? What were you looking to do? How did Jock Market become to be the app that's on our phones today?
Yeah, no, great question. So, working with my co-founder Tyler at our previous company, we played a lot of DraftKings and FanDuel on our own, and obviously we liked it. We loved playing, but figured there were other ways out there, other ways to play that'd be more interesting. And we've also both been interested in investing for a long time, and it was kind of crazy that the stock market and sports concept hadn't really been. I mean, it'd been people had tried it before, but that it hadn't really worked. And then the daily fantasy spin really showed us an opportunity to make it work, where you can have an intrinsic value for those shares. So you have people coming and buying in shares, but if it's a perpetual market, the shares never pay out. It's kind of hard to figure out what they'll be worth. But in a daily market, you buy those shares, in the afternoon. By that evening, for the most part, they're going to pay out real cash. So you have an intrinsic value. I think this is going to be worth X dollars by the end of the night. So now I have a number I can come and pay for it. So that's really where we saw the opportunity. It's just a matter of making the game work within fantasy sports regulations and making it fun and interesting and give people the opportunity to make money by playing.
Bettor Sports Network is sponsored by Jock Market. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
Zion missed the last couple of ball games after taking a hard fall. Zion down the lane, a whistle and a foul, and give him one more on the house.
Still a little sore, man. I've taken a lot of falls, but I ain't never had a fall like that one. But it was fine enough for me to play. Unless I'm truly injured, I'm going to be playing again basketball. That's just how I am.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com on Bettor Sports Network.
Hey, Zion, you're always hurt. What are you talking about? You always take a fall. You always get banged up. Every time you fall, everybody holds their breath to make sure that their messiah, Zion Williams, in the future is okay, even though plenty of others take the fall as well. But still, this is just something that it's going to continue to happen. Big tree fall hard for Zion Williams. And as you just heard him here, as we're about to talk about the NBA, Ron, not really impacting tonight's action, but we actually just got a report out there that just a torn abdomen or rather oblique for Cole Anthony. This Magic team, they don't have the magic. Let me tell you, when it comes to their guards, every year their guards just get eaten up by injuries. Suggs, Anthony, Fultz, Gary Harris is always hurt. They used to have Michael Carter-Williams. He's always hurt, bro. It doesn't end with this team.
Well, at least they have Blanquetto. He's been fun to watch.
He has, except when I put him in the starting five and he doesn't come through. You were saying it. You said it a few days ago. You said at some point he's not going to come through for the price point, which reached $8,000, by the way. Came through that night, but then I used him for the video last night, and it did not work itself out with Banchero, but he's looked absolutely fierce. The guy is a bull when he comes running down the lane like that. Hard guy to stop, and now has to take on more ball handling responsibility, which I thought Cole Anthony was going to be in a prime spot for this year. I thought it was going to be his world, and especially with having someone like Banchero, you'd think that a lot more give and goes would be successful rather than relying on the slow rocks that they have at center, whether it's someone like Bull, whether it's someone like Wendell Carter Jr., who frequently gets hurt, and even Mo Bamba as well. Having a quicker option could create more havoc in the lane, could make more assists, and that's what I thought it was with Cole Anthony. So he's going to be out for a while, no timetable to return. And then we go to tonight's action, Roan, where now we don't have Joel Embiid already, and the Sixers going up against the Wizards here. So they're battling the 7-3 Kristaps Porzingis, and Embiid's not going to play, and they're thinking of using PJ Tucker in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, they had Drummond last year. They don't have him. So, but I think what this does is Maxey becomes someone that you could look at, although I've seen his prop has already gone up to 22.5 points, 23 points on some books. But we saw last time that Embiid was out, he really went off for 44 points against Toronto on Friday. Took 20 shots from the field. hit 15. It was 9 of 12 from 3-point range. So we've seen he doesn't get the volume as much when they're completely healthy, but I think with Embiid out, you could see a big night for Maxey.
So you and I are now we used to do the starting 5 when it came to the video on fantasyalarm.com. And we used to also have a value vault piece that came out as well. They are actually going to be merged, and we're going to be doing, moving forward, value videos here, Roan. So I was looking on yours to see, because I've got tomorrow's, and I want to see what the standard is for pricing.
I don't know. There's no standard. No one told me anything. I do what I want.
I hear you. So, but that's why you were the guinea pig here.
But the problem with it is it's got to be done early, and now all the value open up now. So that's the issue with it. A lot of times we don't. Sometimes we're going to have the injury news. I didn't have it when I did this video. I didn't know Embiid was out. I didn't know Van Fleet was out. I didn't know Simmons was out. So that's, as you know, with the NBA, you have to pivot right before lineup lock, and unless you're doing something live, a lot of times you have to kind of interpret it and figure out who the value is.
Yeah, and by the way, whenever we take our little timeouts here on BSN, I'm not just sitting there looking up at the stars, especially Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm swapping in players in and out in the weekly rankings because, like you said, all of a sudden the injuries when it comes to the NBA takes a big old dump on us. And when it comes to someone like even a Brook Lopez now, everybody's sick, Roan. Everybody is sick. Illness. That's what we're seeing a lot of. He's sick. So now at this point, we don't know if he's going to play, which could have opened up even more value for Bobby Portis.
Yeah, I mean, just going to have to wait till the last minute and try and figure it out.
So let's talk about these matchups here in relation to your value video, because you did something that was very, very bright when it came to your value video, and that's you're attacking Houston, because attacking Houston is the easiest thing in the world, Ron. You and I could score a couple of points on the Rockets' backcourt. Their defense has been so bad for years, and what's so good about the Rockets' defense being so bad, they move at a nice fast pace too. So a lot of these teams are going to have a pace-up spot. And even when they play the Lakers too, who have been the fastest moving team, just to know a note in the future, you want to grab those teams that are slower, that are playing in pace-up opportunities. And for instance, a team like the Clippers tonight turn into Reggie Jackson, no John Wall, no Kawhi Leonard, no Robert Covington. Bro, smart move by you going with both backcourt mates. Well, technically Powell is the 3 and George is at the 2, but good job by you getting a couple of those Clippers in there going up against Houston. They don't play any defense.
Yeah, I know Reggie Jackson hasn't been great, but he did play the last game, 2 games ago, played 37 minutes. It was fine. Maybe this, and he shot, I think, 8 of 13 from the field that night. So this could be a night where he does shoot well. The Rockets allow the 4th most points to point guards, the 2nd most assists to point guards, and the most threes to point guards. So considering his price, he's in a good spot. And Powell has played a lot better over the last 2 games, finally starting to shoot the ball well. And no Kawhi Leonard, no John Wall, no Covington tonight. So those guys were pretty cheap. I think Powell is 4,300 on FanDuel.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, it's price point. And at that point, we knew those guys were pretty much assured of going. I mean, we assumed Wall wasn't playing on a back-to-back after the Clippers played yesterday. And, the Lakers are getting all the heat, but the Clippers have not gotten off to a good start themselves. We know Kawhi's been out. George is battling back from a sickness, but they're 2-4.
I told you this before, so I'm not just saying it now. And yeah, they could go on and win the next 20 games, but I didn't understand why they were favored on the books to win the championship. I just didn't get that. Even with
because if they are healthy, they are very deep. We saw him last year make a run late with George, and Kawhi Leonard was in great shape. He was looking good. Yes, there was a risk, but again, if the books put them too low, they become a liability. It's kind of what we talked about with the Lakers. You can't push them all the way down. A lot of money comes in, and then if it does work out, the books are screwed.
Here's the thing, though, man. I mean, great midcourt defense with a healthy Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. And yes, George will be the shooting guard, so he'll be playing a lot on the perimeter. So he'll definitely, because Reggie Jackson doesn't play good. John Wall, his defense is non-existent.
But those guys were coming off the bench when they're full strength.
Right. Okay. So both of them, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. We'll have to see. I'm thinking that maybe Jackson ends up drawing some more starts, even with both.
If he does, he's not going to play big minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking at this point here that Powell would be the one to come off the bench, and they would start.
I mean, when they played opening night and they had a full squad, that was Leonard coming off the bench. Was that going to last all season? And Jackson only played 23 minutes in that game.
Interesting. I'm wondering. I mean, wondering if they're better off having Powell come off the bench because he could fill in multiple spots where Jackson can't. Interesting to note, though. I mean, this team's front court is comprised of Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and you've got Ivica Zubac, who I really like. I think deserves a little bit more praise. If he's against a team like the Thunder, yes, I'm going to be starting him, and he's going to be at good value for the most part in those matchups. So, again, you did the right thing tonight by getting Jackson and Powell in there for the value video. Let's talk about another matchup here because we are waiting on some injury statuses from Memphis because we had Ja Morant and Desmond Bane both questionable here. Going against Utah, and Utah has done the Cleveland Cavalier way of starting a skyline lineup who actually has Lauri Markkanen, who was part of that skyline lineup in Cleveland. Now he's at that starting small forward spot in Utah. You've got Jared Vanderbilt at the 4, Kelly Olynyk at the 5 as well. And this lineup is just going to be, we saw it with Cleveland, Roan. It's going to be a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis, couldn't put Jones in the video because I didn't know about Ja Morant dealing with illness. So, and we still don't have word on whether he's going or not. So, hope you get it by lineup block, or you have late swap where you can kind of pivot because we've seen, even though the salary went up, we've seen Tyus Jones play very well without Morant because I did have him on the video on Saturday, and in that game, he was 10 of 15 from the field, 3 threes, 23 points, 10 assists in this same matchup against Utah. So even though the salary went up, I'm sure people will look at Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane too, especially if Brooks and Morant are out. I also had Bane in the video that night, and he had a really good performance as well. So getting closer to lineup block for those that don't have late swapping, I don't know if we'll have that news by then.
Yeah, I'm constantly refreshing to see if anything comes out. Makes me wonder if someone like, if they're both out, let's just say, I mean, yes, Tyus Jones, lock him in. Someone like Santi Aldama will be utilized a little bit more, get more shots. He's a good floor stretcher. Here's the problem with Aldama. I'm starting to think that they're playing him, and they do this with Jaren Jackson Jr. as well, and they waste their size. They got to have these guys attack the basket. They stop and put up for three. Why? Because Steven Adams is there clogging up the middle. Well, freaking move Adams out of the way and let Aldama attack a little bit, use his size. And that's why when it comes to someone like Aldama, that he's going to have up and down games, because if he's going to be sitting there camped out at the arc the entire time, he's not hitting his threes. He's not giving us anything. Night like tonight, where you potentially don't have the explosive Ja Morant, you don't have someone else who will attack the basket, and Desmond Bane potentially, they got to have this guy attack more, and that's the problem. Are you, in general, I know he's out, he'll be back at some point, are you a Jaren Jackson Jr. guy ultimately?
Yeah, he frustrates me with his shot selection at times. I think he just has more potential than he's shown. I think he could be a lot better. I think he needs to hone his game a little bit, but the block shots are nice. So I like him, but I just think he can be a lot better.
What we're seeing from Banchero, we need to see from Triple J when he comes back, because he has the size. He's got amazing ups. You mentioned the blocks, amazing ups, but he's not using them on offense. And he sits there 3 feet behind the arc like he's Steph Curry and starts launching threes, and it's stupid. And he tries to lean in and draw contact like it's the game NBA hang time. It's stupid. I hate when I wish that I was 6'10", and I'd be able to attack the basket like that, not waste my size sitting there at the arc. But it's floor stretching. Who cares? Have them be tough. Have them use their size and attack. Damn. By the way, Roan, you've been totally right, and I've been wrong regarding the Hawks guards. I know I keep admitting that to you, but it's just, I'm shocked. And maybe it's just because all the other players really don't do much on the team and they have the luxury, but I'm shocked that Trae Young and DeJounte Murray have been able to both balance out ball handling responsibilities and offense possessions for themselves. They've been able to balance it all year so far.
Yeah, no, I thought it was going to work. They've been impressive so far. Trey's had some monster games. I know. I think it might have been Friday we talked about him, and I was like, yeah, it was a good matchup. He should shoot. And I didn't play his prop, and he just obliterated it. Because he was due to start hitting his shots, he was still getting there too. That was the crazy part, is he was getting there on his points and finally put together a game where he shot very well and. Should be. I don't know. I didn't look at his prop tonight. I didn't play it. I mean, they're playing the Raptors. Fred VanVleet is out. Raptors typically pretty good defensively, but you could probably look at Trey tonight. I think. I think it's not one of my higher. You know where I'm going tonight. Do I even need to tell you? If you've been listening, you know whose prop I locked in last night, right?
I don't know.
Really, look at the schedule. Who is a player that I've written about a lot, talked about a lot, played his prop every night except the first night?
Man, I'm going to have to go with, I'm looking right down the list there.
Oh my goodness. I can't believe you didn't get this.
I can't believe I'm not getting, it's the headband. It's hacking my brain. Okay. I have to dress up for Halloween. Who is it?
Tyrese Halliburton over points and assists. I got it last night at 30.5. I do see though on FanDuel now it's 29.5 at -125, but I got it last night on DraftKings over 30.5 points and assists at -105. I mean, this guy has just been a stud all season long. And going up against Brooklyn again, same matchup as the other night. No Simmons tonight. I really don't care right now with Halliburton. I'm just going to keep playing this. 26-8 against the Nets on Saturday. We're 7-16 from the field and hit 6 threes, 6-10 from three. So he's had, for points and assists, the last few games, 34, 37, 28, 29, 34, 39, 33. So he's gone over the number tonight in every game except two. Great spot here against the Nets. They're last in defensive efficiency. And the Pacers just beat Brooklyn the other night, 125-116. And somehow the Pacers are 7.5-point underdogs again. I don't know how. But
let me put it to you this way, man. I'm looking at my point guard rankings, by the way, up and being updated, fantasyalarm.com. Halliburton's one of the three teams. Pacers are one of the three teams with just 2 games. Dallas and Denver being the others this week.
Yeah, so he's got to be lower.
So you're right. But you know what? With the point guard position, where it's very hard to get in the rankings for point guard for me, very difficult. A lot of great point guard play. He ranks number 11 with the 2 games on tap. That's how good Tyrese Halliburton has been.
Well, yeah, and he could play 2 games this week and give you, 55, 60 points, 20 assists, 6 threes. The other prop I have in this game is Miles Turner over 20.5 points and rebounds.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, he's only played 2 games, but a great matchup against Brooklyn. And we saw his second game of the season on Friday where he played 32 minutes. So I'm assuming minutes are not going to be an issue. They did sit him on Saturday at a back-to-back. 27 points and 10 rebounds against Washington. I mean, all we need is like 12 and 9, 14
he's
and
playing a pathetic
8.
front court defense.
Yeah, so I don't see how Miles Turner doesn't get there tonight. So he was in the video. I think he was 55 on DK, was it? Or FanDuel. One of those. He was 55 and 20.5 points rebound. So I also played that prop. You could play Durant, Kyrie. I didn't. I know their numbers are high, but they're just doing so much right now for that team, and they need a win pretty badly. I mean, they can't look. Oh, okay. I was looking at points assists for. At first, I was like, wait, Durant's points prop is 35.5. That was points and assists. His points prop is 30.5, 31.5 on some books. So that might not be a bad same game parlay if you're looking at one tonight, because you could do Halliburton, Turner, Durant, Kyrie. Take a bunch of props for that. Game total 235.
What about that? Oh yeah, it's Ben Simmons not even going to play. I was going to say, what about that Ben Simmons defense? I'm going to be kicking myself for saying that about Luka for the rest of the year, Roan.
And that's another guy like. I think
you can't be mad at me for saying that, because you agreed that Ben Simmons was one of the best perimeter defenders of the last decade.
I don't worry about that against Luka.
True, but if there's anyone that can limit him in relation to the price point, which was $12K, then you would think
it's different. If you're talking price point, I'm talking props. I mean, $12K, you always have to question it because it's dependent on the rest of the slate and is there enough value to fit him in. So that's different. I think the other guy who's very interested tonight is Keegan Murray. Now this game tips off soon, but his prop is 16.5 points. He's averaging 18 in 4 games in the starting lineup. Here's one that I'm looking at too. His threes. He's hit at least 3 threes in every single game. His 3-point prop is 2.5 at minus 120 on BetMGM, minus 125 on DraftKings. I might look to see what his three threes or more are and play that. You might be able to get it at plus money. He's going up against Charlotte. I know Charlotte's defensive efficiency is pretty good, but they are a fast-paced team, and the total is 231. And I did put Keegan Murray in the video too. I'm gonna see if I can find. I kind of want to play three threes or more for him, and maybe even ladder it and do a 4 as well because he's been hitting every game. Yeah. Why can't he keep doing it? Let me see if I can.
He's gonna see, which I don't think should be bad. He's gonna see Gordon Hayward on him tonight. I don't see them putting Washington on him. I'm sure Washington will guard Barnes, so they'll put because Barnes probably has a little bit of length on Murray. So I'm thinking that he'll draw Hayward in that matchup. But you're right about Charlotte. They've been fast for the last few years. No Terry Rozier in that matchup. You're still waiting to see when LaMelo Ball is going to be ready to return or make his debut in the season as well. But I like that, man. I was shocked that Keegan Murray wasn't starting from the get-go. They went with one of my favorites, even though he's not. KZ.
He was a little banged up, wasn't he?
A little bit. Oh, did he have COVID? He might have actually had COVID. And then he cleared it, but they kept him out for that first game. And they didn't start him for the first, I believe, game or two that he was involved in. They had, I believe, KZ Okpala still starting, but now they've made the change since. I thought that they were going to maybe replace him with Barnes, but it seems like they're starting both of them in the front court along with Domantas Sabonis. I'm waiting for this Kings team to get better. You said it before last week. Darren Fox looks a lot better this year.
Wait a second. What? Oh, so 3 threes for Keegan Murray made is minus 132 on FanDuel. I don't like that. 4 threes are plus 210.
4 threes? Wow.
Yeah.
Like, so it's at 4.5 or it's at.
No, you have to, if he gets at least 4 threes, you get it at plus 210.
That makes me nervous, man.
I mean, it is. Well, that's why it's plus 210. I'm saying. Right. So he's 3 of 6 against the Clippers, 4 of 10 from Golden State, 3 of 8 against Memphis, 3 of 7 against Miami. Those are better defenses.
Yeah.
And now Charlotte, again, I've seen their defensive efficiency to actually rank pretty high. But fast-paced game. That's why the three threes are minus. But that's the thing too. So on FanDuel, if he makes 3 threes or more, it's minus 132, but over 2.5 is minus 125 on DraftKings. So you shop around. We do have the inactives, and Kareem Hunt is active. So
not traded yet.
Doesn't mean, though, he's going to get a lot of touches, though. So keep that in mind.
He could get traded at the beginning of this game.
I doubt it, but I'm saying they could limit his workload if they do have a trade in the works. Hopefully they don't. I need something from him. Please give me 10, 12 points tonight. Do something, find the end zone. I hope. But he has not been heavily involved the last 2 weeks.
Does PJ Tucker starting at center, because we just got the lineup for Philly, does PJ Tucker starting at center put you on Porzingis at all?
You can. I don't know, man. Like he never crushes. That's my problem with it. We talked about it that night, and I think he didn't hit his props that night. So
he did not. No,
yeah,
he missed it by a half. By a half.
Yeah, he played 28 minutes last game against Boston, 31 against Indiana. He's only played, that was an overtime game. He played 38. He's hovering too much around the 30-minute mark for me. That's the problem.
Yeah, they want to preserve him a little bit. They do. It stinks because he's got someone that I believe he has 8 inches on guarding him tonight. Although PJ Tucker's tough, but
yeah, no, he is. He might give him some issues, but I think
Porzingis still towers over.
Maxey and Harden are the guys to look at with player props. Again, Maxey's numbers did go up, but we saw him go off last game without Embiid.
By the way, did you crush Billy Hayes at all in your matchup with him?
I did win, yeah.
Okay, because he says that you crushed him. So there you go.
Yeah, I had Travis Etienne, Dak Prescott, Dulcich.
That'll do it.
And I got Kareem Hunt tonight, but total points matter. I mean, he's got more points than me, and he's still 5-3. He's in a good spot. I still am going to have to fight for a playoff spot. So
Billy Buzz Lightyear, look at that here. Billy Hayes here. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody in the chat. Jordan, see you in there as well. And thank you for all you do for social media for Bettor Sports Network. Let's go over a few more props when it comes to NBA. And then again, going to give you guys an opportunity.
I think, you know what? We got to play the maxi, right? We're going to do it. 22.5
points and assists.
No points. 22.5 points.
Monte Morris isn't a good defender.
I'm playing it. Let me go find it now.
What's Harden's? I'd almost rather you just go Harden.
Why? Maxey went off last time. Harden is I think he's actually the same. He is 21.5 on BetMGM, DraftKings, and Caesars, 22.5 on other books on FanDuel.
I'll give my blessing for Maxey.
I like Maxey better.
I'll give it because
he's gonna take shots.
And Tobias Harris doesn't scare me to take too much away from him. Not even I think he'll be fine in this game.
Remember, Embiid's absence opens up a lot of usage.
1,000%.
And Harden will look to get Maxey the ball.
He's Ronas. I'm Fensty. Before I'm interrupted again, this is the playbook on Bettor Sports Network.
This is the Playbook with Fensty and Ronas, presented by FantasyAlarm.com and sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every second of the game.
Collectible moments.
Everybody up here at U.S. Cellular. Sox 5 runs, 6 hits. The 2-1 to Bartlett. Swing shot to short. Ramirez has it, throws. Bartlett picks a perfect game. His second no-hitter. People going crazy here at U.S. Cellular. He's smacked by his teammates. A perfecto.
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ, lays it in. Right up, 1 second left. What a play by Bird. Bird stole the impounding pass. Laid it up to DJ. DJ laid it up at him. And Boston has a 1-point lead with 1 second left.
Out of the I formation on first down. Peterson to carry, looking for running room on the right side, has it to the 25, across the 30, across the 35, and out of bounds at the 40-yard line. Adrian Peterson has just gone over 2,000 yards for the season, the 7th man in NFL history to cross the 2,000-yard mark.
Well, a thundering ovation for number 66, Mario Lemieux.
Just the emotion I'm sure Mario is feeling in this place. You don't appreciate something until it's gone, and it's so great to have Mario back.
Yager turns around. Over to Lemieux. Mario Lemieux, his first goal in his comeback here tonight at the Mellon Arena. And the Penguins lead 3-0, and he is smiling like a butcher's dog. Mario Lemieux.
Oh, the band is out on the field. He's going to go into the end zone. The Bears have scored, but the Bands are out on the field.
Pearson moves in front of the STP Dodge. Petty comes back to the inside. They almost touch as they move down low in the banking. They're going to be side by side as they exit the bank and head for the finish line.
Richard Petty goes back in front. They both spin. They're in the wall. Petty is sliding, slamming into the wall. He's coming down toward the finish line. Will he make it? Pearson is still running. The winner is car number 21. An amazing finish. Richard Petty's car demolished in the front end, as well as car number 21. An unbelievable finish, a terrible crash. David Pearson has won the Daytona 500. Leitner catches, comes down, dribbles, shoots, scores! Christian Leitner has hit the bucket at the buzzer! Pitched by Downey, swinging, there's a drive into left-handed field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7-15. There's a new home run champion of all time, and it's Henry Aaron.
The most valuable player is Magic Johnson. 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists. He starts at center, plays forward and guard, and leads the Los Angeles Lakers to a world championship 123-107 over Philadelphia.
Whether you collect sports memorabilia, fantasy championships, or winning bet slips, talk about it on Bettor Sports Network.
This is the Playbook with Fensty and Ronas, presented by FantasyAlarm.com and sponsored by Jock Market. Make real money every second of the game.
Your opportunity 30 seconds left to go. Down by 1. What are you going to do? You're going to pass it to the playbook here. We're going to score. We're going to keep the game ours. That's what we do. Happy to be with everybody. Also, by the way, for those that are celebrating tonight for Halloween, please be safe there. Eat your candy and be safe about it. For those that are going to party, please be responsible. Make responsible decisions. I can almost feel weird saying that, Ronan, the Space Jam jersey, but I feel like it's something that needs to be said. What do you think?
Yeah, not valid coming from you, but okay. Your Porzingis prop, maybe it's not that bad. His points rebounds at 26.5. I'm not going to play it, but
when we lost it last time, it was 27.5. But
okay, 26.5. He had 17 and 13 against Boston, 22 and 6 against Indiana, 20 and 7 against Detroit, 18 and 11 against Cleveland. So he's gone over this.
Do you have his shooting distribution up when you're reading that? Do you see how many threes he's taken in those games compared to 2s?
4, and 8, and from the field 16, 13, 13, 16. So I mean, the rebounds are going to be key because he got 13 rebounds against Boston, right? And we know that they are lacking size, especially without Robert Williams. It's funny. Someone, I don't know if you saw this. So my PicksWise article on Friday, I had Al Horford under 7.5 rebounds, and someone questioned me on Twitter. They were like, "You still feel that way with Grant Williams being suspended?" I'm like, "Oh, you know what? You changed my mind." I didn't say that, but it's like, dude, I already knew Grant Williams was suspended, and Williams played 18 minutes in the prior game, and it didn't matter. And even with that game going to overtime, Horford only had 2 rebounds. He's not rebounding well. So
he's aged, man.
Yeah,
you knew
definitely.
that. You knew that was,
and it was
problem.
plus money. It was plus 105. I was like,
well, because people see someone a starting center and they see 7.5, and they're like, oh, criminally low, but they're not watching the games, and they're not watching Al Horford hanging more in the lane than in the painted area, and he's just not aggressive anymore.
So yeah, your Porzingis at 26.5 is not a bad play because he could get 12 rebounds tonight.
Yeah, man, that's why I asked you about the shot distribution, because if you were telling me, well, he's taking 7-8 threes a game, 6-7,
not just once. He's averaging 5 per game in the last 3 games, 4. He went 0 for 4 against Boston and still had 17 and 13 in 28
That's not
minutes.
bad. That's not bad. And again, PJ Tucker on him. PJ Tucker, feisty defender, but if he gets the ball in the post, nothing Tucker could do about it. He towers over him by like 8 inches or 6 inches.
And Giannis is the tough one tonight because is that game going to stay close? I mean, his props are ridiculous right now. 32.5 points, 12.5 rebounds, but he's playing great, man. 5.5 assists. So I probably won't in case there's a blowout tonight against Detroit. That line's 13. Grizzlies, Jazz, obviously waiting on news. And so, yeah, I got so my bets tonight are Halliburton over 30.5 points and assists, Turner over 20.5 points, rebounds, and Maxey over 22.5 points. That's what I've bet so far.
Yeah, we're seeing the World Series game according to Jordan Allen, our social digital media producer here at BSN.
Canceled? Damn it.
It is rained out. But
actually, that works out better for
I
me.
got to tell an opportunity that we're giving away. Hang on 1 second, because we're giving away cool prizes all week long. You follow us at Bettor Network on Twitter. Retweet the official pin giveaway post. One lucky Bettor fan will win today's prize, a Bryce Harper autographed baseball. The contest is tonight at 9 Eastern on Bettor Sports Live with Rick Campbell, who will announce the winner. Coming up next here, Ron. Anything else you'd like to say? I'm sorry I cut you off.
Not fine. We're good to go. Gave out the props, so hopefully we get a good football game tonight.
Yes, we do. Bryce Harper autographed baseball. Get into the win here. Bettor Sports Live next. Happy Halloween. Ooh.